have you ever walked out of a movie? Or what is the closest you've come to walking out of a movie? And if so, what movie was it and why? So, Ben?
Well, you may be shocked because this is a movie I know a lot of people love, but yes, I did in fact walk out of District 9.
What?
And it has a bit to do with the film itself. I don't like Neil Blomkamp's direction at all. I feel like he's a glorified video game director, and not in a good way, because there's nothing wrong with video games. But that's in a way because it's kind of beside the point. The reason I walked out of it because it was on a Thursday night after work. I went, and I knew my family was at home watching Gilmore Girls, and in the middle of the movie, I was just watching these gory CGI fights and just getting depressed about humanity. And I just thought, man, I would really rather be home with my family watching Gilmore Girls. I'm sorry, Neil Blomkamp. I'm out of here.
Wow.
So that's the story.
So as an Academy member, you would not vote for District 9?
I would not vote for District 9.
But how far did you get?
Well, I got it later and watched the rest of it.
Okay, good.
And it did not change my opinion. I still think it's overrated.
I really think the ending is what really makes that movie.
It's a good ending, but I don't know.
No, it's okay.
Blomkamp, he doesn't do it for me.
Yeah, I get it. So that was really surprising. I'm not gonna lie.
Twist. Shyamalan worthy.
Oh man, who would have seen that coming? Any minute now, Bruce Willis is gonna come in and reveal that he was the movie critic the whole time. So my movie that I almost walked out of, not surprising, You Don't Mess with the Zohan. Now,
Adam Sandler. How could you walk out of an Adam Sandler film?
I know. Okay, now there is a story here. So I don't know if you ever caught a little film called Reign Over Me, starring Adam Sandler.
Yes, the one where his family died in 9/11 and Don Cheadle's helping him not be depressed.
Where he gives the only great performance of his life.
Exactly. I watched that movie. Someone said no Academy Award there, but when I watched Reign Over Me, someone said we should watch this, and I was against it because Adam Sandler hadn't churned out any piece of real art, and other than maybe Punch Drunk Love, but. Anyways, so we watched it, and I watched the thing. I was mesmerized. He can actually act. He can act really, really well, and I was so surprised. And once the movie's over, I was like, wow, if Adam Sandler really wanted to, he could win an Academy Award. If he really tried, he probably could. And then my friend, about a year later, of course, goes, hey, we should watch I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry.
Ooh.
I was not for it. I was not for it, but she paid for my ticket, so I went. Because that's how I roll. So I watched it and I was like, okay, it's not great, but it's got a great message. And at that time, I felt that's what we needed. And I felt Adam Sandler was wielding what star power he had to bring attention to gay marriage and relationships and how it shouldn't affect things. And I was like, okay, movie's not great, but the message is good. Then You Don't Mess with the Zohan comes out, and I'm like, it doesn't look good at all. But I thought the same thing about I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry, and my little brother said, I want to go see it. So we went to the theater. There was a snafu with the ticketing thing. I don't think I actually paid to see the movie, but I got a ticket. I don't know what happened. So we get into the theater. It's literally one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my entire life. No message. There could have been one, but there wasn't, and they tried, and it was terrible, and I literally had this line said, if you don't stop it, I'm gonna shoot these puppies! That was what the terrorist was threatening to stop Zohan, the love god, and it was just, I felt so betrayed at that point. I was like, you know what, you gave me Reign Over Me, which was great. You gave me I Now Pronounce You Chuck and Larry, which wasn't, but you had a message. You're not even giving me a message now. And since then, has not done anything worthwhile, and I just am mad like a parent at a child who brings home a D in math. I know you could do better. You just gotta apply yourself, and it makes me so mad when Grown Ups 2 comes on the screen. I don't know how to... So, You Don't Mess with the Zohan, I almost walked out of, and I would have, but my little brother was there, and it was free. Once again, free pokes its head and makes things better.
Alright, well, for my movie, I went with Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides. Now, the Pirates movies are actually much beloved in my house, particularly the first one. Less so the sequels, but particularly the first one, which still holds up and is still a good movie.
Absolutely, yeah.
My parents were just watching it.
So one weekend, hanging out with some friends, we decide let's go see a movie. We can't decide what we're going to go see, and initially I said no to this because less so for any reviews or any reason like that, but more because I wanted to see it with my mom. She's a huge fan, but we couldn't decide on anything, so we went with this on opening weekend. And about 10 to 15 minutes in, I felt so guilty about saying yes to that. I felt so guilty because we were watching the most boring chase sequence ever in a movie. Just Johnny Depp looks bored the entire time, and I know he likes this role. I know he carries around the Jack Sparrow costume so he can visit local children's hospitals and cheer kids up. That's awesome. He's bored out of his skull the entire time, and I was right there with him, just not caring that the English army was shooting at him in the middle of London, and he's riding on carriages and jumping around, and I'm just not interested in any of it. And eventually it picked up in that it stopped being agony and just started being
mind-numbing.
Yeah, that's a good word for it.
What we all want in a movie.
At one point, they're on this whole fetch quest to find the Fountain of Youth, and Blackbeard's there, and he's boring. And at one point, they have to stop, and they play Russian roulette to figure out who's gonna go on the mission, but they only have single-shot pistols, so it's they have to explain the rules of Russian roulette with single-shot pistols.
Oh my god, I forgot about
Wow.
that.
And then there's the subplot where the priest and the mermaid fall in love, which has nothing to do with anything as far as I can tell.
You're right, that was weird. The more you explain this movie, the worse it gets. Granted, it wasn't great to begin with, but what you did with Shoot 'em Up is the exact opposite of what you're doing with that movie right now. No, you're right.
I'm not sure if my mom has seen this since. She's not missing much. So yeah, this is the closest I've ever come to walking out of the movie.
But you finished it?
I did finish it.
So
I
Bravo.
paid $9.50 for a ticket, and I will sit in my ass and watch that crap.
So, wait, have you ever walked out of a movie ever?
I have not.
I haven't. So, have you done it more than once?
Oh, several times, yeah.
What?
So money's just no object to you, is it?
Well,
We can't all live like that, Ben.
Well, the funny thing is, I am. It is actually, I think around the time I turned 18, I made a vow that I was never going to walk out of a movie ever again.
How many times did you break kids?
Never.
You haven't
Not
done it since?
Actually, yeah.
Okay, I always forget
Believe it or
you're a
not.
youngling.
Yes, I confess, guilty. But when I was young and naive, or more young and naive
Jaded?
than I am now, that was when I walked out. I walked out of all kinds of movies. I walked out even of some movies that I love now. I walked out of Batman Begins. Now I look back and think, was I crazy?
Were you crazy?
Probably.
Apparently.
Sometimes it just takes time.
So that I have learned. You never judge anything based on a first viewing, unless you're writing a review and you want to show off your intellectual prowess. Then it is perfectly.
Never judge anything by a first viewing. That's our jobs.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
Our volunteer jobs.
Yeah,
That's
our
what we don't get paid for.
So we can bend the rules. Whatever.
Service is its own reward.